Hi, my name is Thomas Fawcett. I'm a student here at Full Sail University, and for my presentation this week I want to do a presentation on the smartphone war, which is the war between the three leading brands of cell phone manufacturers. And the reason I chose to do this is because I actually work in telecommunications during the week and get a lot of people asking which brand is the best. So the three brands we're going to be looking at are the Apple iPhone, the Blackberries, and the Android devices. And my hypothesis here, and what I'm going forward with, is saying that Android is definitely the best smartphone and stands apart from the crowd. And I'm going to go through the three brands here, and then we'll talk about what sets it apart. What we're going to talk about is the BlackBerry brand, which is actually based out of Waterloo, Ontario, which is where I live. They just released a new system this year, so they're now running on BB10. And their biggest selling feature is BlackBerry Messenger, which allows any BlackBerry user to text each other for free regardless of what their wireless plan is. The downside, however, is their stocks. BlackBerry is not doing so great, even with the release of their new phones this year. They're currently in talks to be bought out by Fairfax Financial, and they're looking at losing 50% of their workforce by 2015, which isn't great. So who knows what's going to happen with BlackBerry, but right now they are still one of the most popular brands. The next one is the Apple iPhone, which everyone has. It's more common among teenagers, but everyone is going for Apple. The biggest thing about Apple phones is basically their functionality with iPads, iPods, and iTunes on the computer. Everything mixes together in one account. The downside of that is the phones don't really work that great, and they're really hard to replace. They can only be maintained through Apple themselves, and so they have to be sent away to be repaired. The battery is encased in the phone, and if you have problems with that, you're out of luck. The last device is Android, which is my personal favorite, obviously. Android's got a lot of customization I really enjoy, and really they've made it really easy for people to develop for them apps or whatever. It's just a really welcoming phone and really easy to pick up and go with. And that's one of the reasons that I'm putting forth the hypothesis that it's the best. Actually, it's not all fun and games for Android either. One of the things they're doing now that I don't really agree with is adopting Apple's practice of having the battery housed in the device, making them hard to repair as well. They're also super hard to update as they don't have official software for that, and that gets a little sketchy to update your phones. Doesn't always work. User interface we're going to talk about now. BlackBerry and iPhone, pretty basic. You've got your apps on the front page, like anyone would have. They're getting a little more customizable, but the real person that stands out here is Android, and that's because with the Android devices, as we can see here, gives you full control. On the left you can see here it looks more like the BlackBerry and the iPhone did. On the right you can see what you can make it become. And basically with the Android devices you can resize everything, move everything around. You get alarm clocks, weather, news, everything. You can also multitask with the Android, which means that any apps you have open, when you close them, they don't actually close, they stay open. So if you need to leave something, check the internet for fact checking, you can always come back to the other program that you were in before. It hasn't shut off as it would with the BlackBerry or Apple. The next thing we're going to talk about is apps. We've already touched on that a bit, but this is in regards to how many there are. BlackBerry is severely limited on apps. Apple's better, it's got quite a bit. Unfortunately with Apple, they screen everything, so it's really hard to get an app up there. If you do, good, but if you don't, then you've got Android with Google Play. Basically here, they're not really screening stuff, so anyone can easily develop for the Android devices, which means they have thousands of apps, and that's great. There are some downsides to that because some apps get through that shouldn't, but on the whole, it's a plus. They also have Google Now, which is Google's and Android's approach to counter Siri, which is the voice recognition program on the Apple. And it actually works really well, and even works when the phone's not turned on. You say, okay, Google Now, the phone turns on, you're good to go. And it tracks where you're going, schedules your stuff, you're good to go. Android's also great for innovation. And here we can see their flex screen technology, which is super cool and should be coming into their next model. And basically, with the flex screen, the screen is paper thin, meaning it bends with pressure. It's going to be super cool and makes the screen really resistant to damage. Back to the bad news about BlackBerry. Remember how I said before BBM was their selling feature? Well, BBM is going to be on Apple and Android devices now, making their selling feature not really a selling feature. So if you thought they were in bad shape before, who knows where they're going to end up now. Moving on from that, we can also see BlackBerry and Apple trying to steal ideas from Android now. Google now is now on iPhone and iPad because they've realized that it's a better service than their own, which is Siri, of course. They're also adding widgets and the more customization to the menus, something that Android did first, and they're going to continue to innovate first, in my belief. Going forward from this, where does Android go? It's not perfect. It can be improved. One of the ways it needs to do that is to tie its brand name together. It's got a lot of different brands making phones for it, but there's no universal feature. It's a great operating system, but doesn't have anything universally recognizable by customers. Here we can see a chart just stating sales numbers actually, and we can see here that Android is leading, which really helps my case, I guess. BlackBerry is even under the Windows Phone, which isn't even a great phone, so we can see here, like I was saying, that they're kind of slipping. Anyways, that's my presentation. Time to wrap up. Hope this gave you some insight as into how Android is really leading the industry right now, making some innovative changes, and really standing above everyone else. You can be doing the same thing as everyone else, but if you're doing it better, that makes you the best. Thanks for listening. I'm Thomas Fawcett. Have a great day.